gravel riding is so interesting because it's just everything. So I think gravel in South Africa is actually quite unique in the sense that it's just a district road, and those tend to be fairly good.
Yeah. I mean, the one we were riding today was probably in better condition than half of the tar roads.
I guess that's sort of what I wanted to brainstorm with you is what are different South African gravel conditions? Like, is it fairly homogenous around the country? And what are the kind of categories? So I was thinking super corrugated.
A la Transbuff.
A la Transbuff is one genre. The other one is the one that you were mentioning, which is mud that has dried and hardened. So those are really interesting because you can like fall off things. Like these hard bumps have no structural integrity, so you can slip through hard things, which is quite interesting. And then you have just the mud when it hasn't dried.
Which we had a bit of today too, where the grader had been. Yeah, I suppose like you said, our Jeep track would still count. I was saying, was that what would still count as gravel elsewhere, or even that would be relatively good conditions still?
I mean, you can get shitty Jeep track, and then I think it's fine. But we do some Jeep track riding. I think we considered that more. I think also because gravel is quite new in South Africa, that kind of gets put more in mountain bike races than in gravel races. We had a little bit of that on Race to the Sun.
Yeah, the rutted Jeep track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots of access roads, like under the electricity pylons or next to the railroads. Those are kind of Jeep track things that are still considered gravelly. The Cape Town gravel roads are doing more of those. So what I found with like the Cape Town 100 milers is you have to be a little bit more awake because it's not all on gravel road, on district road. So you have to pick your line. And that's what I find quite fun about gravel riding is it's not mindless because you're not a dual suspension bike, you're overbiked for the terrain. There's almost nothing you can do that will make it go wrong. And a gravel bike isn't that. So that's why one of the things that I like about gravel riding.
I'm thinking about how I captured my one Strava ride. This is like with some super variable gravel conditions, you know. When you're riding on a road, like yes, there may be an obstacle or a pothole, but it kind of just is. I think too much of any one thing could kind of get tiresome, so I quite enjoy the challenge of dealing with this sandy bit. The slog for me is like, oh my gosh, here's a whole hill of sand. Go forth and climb. But yeah, I don't think I have very strong opinions, Laura.
Yeah, but the more you're talking, the more I think that you're wrong, that you don't want to think a lot. You don't just want to be grinding. You want something to be happening underneath your wheels.
I suppose.
You enjoy it when you find the perfect line.
That's true. I was thinking about this morning's ride, actually, where we had the great gravel for a nice chunk, and it was satisfying in its own way, but I think also 100 miles of that would feel a lot like sitting on a watt bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm saying I'm a bit nervous about the road conditions, but I've also been so impressed by my gravel bike. Like when we did the mountain drive ride, that's been hairy for me on a mountain bike before, and it was fine. And I was just really impressed with how capable it felt and how comfortable I'm feeling. I think that's something actually that I've enjoyed about the training camp as well, is actually spending some time on my bike, my gravel bike, on gravel. Because normally I ride on the roads. So just having it be off-road, realizing I can do shit that I wanted to do, and like stop overthinking it. And it's like, even when my brains were rattling today over the corrugations, it's like, well, it's fine. Just hang on.
And hang on.
Hang on. Look over to the other side and wait it out. You know, it's going to be uncomfortable for a bit, but it's not going to rattle the bike apart.
Woohoo! What up? Oh my gosh!
What I like about the gravel roads here, it's being able to get around the area in a way that you wouldn't typically in the car, and like the traffic on the roads isn't hectic, and I don't know, to me it's about like moving through the space. But yeah, I suppose like the sightseeing, being a bit of a tourist. And I think that's what I really liked when I started cycling, just on my mountain bike, but on these district roads, was sort of being a tourist in my own area. And even though I've grown up on these tar roads, it's like I didn't know about the network that connected them. And then suddenly I started riding them. And suddenly I had a picture in my mind of the places that my mum and my grandpa used to reference in their stories.
Oh, cool.
Oh, we turn left at Frog Ponds. And I was like, I have no bloody idea where Frog Ponds is. Now I know where Frog Ponds is. And like all the little schools and churches. And now I know how they piece together, but it's only because of my bike. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So moving. Much wow.